It's back to good old Superspeedway racing for tonight's race as we move 3 states to the southwest from North Carolina, of course, Charlotte Motor Speedway, now over to Lincoln, Alabama. Good evening, folks, and welcome to another live production for Season 4 of the Canadian eMotorsports Network NASCAR Series on iRacing. It's the Rampage Coffee Co. 250 at Talladega Superspeedway, Round 9 of 20. And now, originally, I would straight from here go into the split-screen graphic where I would show off me, Regan McCauley here, the main play-by-play guy and main broadcaster here for the Canadian eMotorsports Network. And then alongside me would be Jordy Carraher, been here since day one, now color commentator, of course. And on the split-screen graphic, you would originally see that he's from in Alberta, Canada, but he's actually over on the island now. He's back home here in Charlottetown just for the next couple races, but it appears as though he's dealing with some technical issues right now, so unfortunately I may have to ride solo tonight. If I'm able to hear his voice, then I will get him in here as quickly as possible, but I won't know for sure just for a little bit, but we'll just wait and see to see what happens. So, pretty much looking at biggest recent headlines so far, it's pretty much last week's race back at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the World 300, which was a relatively calm but competitive race within the first 2 to 3 stages. We saw 3 different stage winners between a rookie, a sophomore, and a veteran. And as soon as that final stage arrived, cautions breed cautions, multiple restarts, someone goes flying to the moon, we go past the scheduled race distance, and go figure, Corbin McCauley still comes home with the victory. And by no means was it a race dominated by one driver in particular, but McCauley still led about half the race at 98 of 204 laps led. He claimed 3rd, 7th, and 1st, respectively, in the first 3 stages. Charlotte Motor Speedway has continued this pattern of early race quietness and late race shenanigans, and it does make me wonder if this will be a sign for what we're going to witness tonight, with the sheer irony of the track tonight, like the next one being Talladega Superspeedway of all tracks, of course. So now let's take a look at the schedule here. We are at race 9 of 20, round 9 of 20 in the entire season, race 9 of 13 in the regular season. After Talladega, there will be 4 races remaining in the regular season, and including tonight, which will make it 5 races, the upcoming stretch will feature 2 intermediates, 2 superspeedways, and 1 short track. Quite the circuit diversity at a very pivotal point in the season where anything is possible, and considering the different types of circuits we're going to, it might give us a wide range of potentially some different winners unless Corbin McCauley decides to continue dominating, winning almost every single race imaginable. But both tonight and the regular season finale at Daytona along this stretch will provide great opportunities for drivers below the cut line to take advantage of the win and in format. So now let's take a look at last week's results here. Of course, at the World 300 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, we already talked about Corbin McCauley a little bit right there, getting his, let's just see here. Yeah, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, his 5th win of the season, of course. Justin Belmonte claiming his first top 5 finish since Homestead, along with winning stage 1 and finishing 5th and 4th in stages 1 and 2. Scott Bailey continued his top 5 stretch with 3 in a row, along with 4 in the last 5 races. He finished 6th and 2nd in the first 2 stages, and then you got Jared Ireland there in 4th place, rebounding from a 14th place qualifying result to come home 4th for the 2nd week in a row. That's his 3rd 4th place result and top 5 of the season. In 5th place there, rounding at the top 5, you got Jonathan Peden prevailing over penalties given after the previous race at Michigan to finish 5th. He also finished 5th in stage 3. And then there's Pulsar Dylan Baum scoring his 3rd pole of the season and finishing 5th in stage 1. He got caught up in a load of incidents before eventually coming home with both a 7th place finish and unfortunately a 1-race suspension to add to that, but we'll get into that one later, of course. And then rounding at the top 10, once again with another 8th place finish there, very solid for Daniel Cudmore, of course. You got another rookie there, currently 2nd in points, being the number 15 of Kyle Knoll. Wrapping up the top 10 is none other than Hunter Young. And then looking the rest of the way there, you got guys like Mike Marini, Andy Hurdle, Matthew Patek, pretty much by the looks of it, only at the top 7 finish on the lead lap there. And then just looking through the rest of the field, guys like CD Mangrum, Ty Higginbottom, Darcy Ford just not really having great performances there, of course. 3 guys did not start Charlotte, and Mark Cox, Jose Mercado, and Tom Janikowski. So now we'll take a look here at the driver standings, and it should be noted that these standings feature the playoff locks at the top. So what you'll be hearing from me are the official standings without these playoff guys, at the top there being taken into account. It's pretty much the official standings of everyone combined, in case of potential confusion. But yes, good old Corbin McCauley being 97 points above second place, which does indeed imply he is practically Connor McDavid. Kyle Knoll remains in second after claiming his 6th top 10 result in a row. He still has yet to qualify 9th or above, but unfortunately it won't be happening tonight as he does join Dylan Baum in suspension territory, both guys receiving 1-race suspensions after incidents at the World 300 at Charlotte. Tonight would have definitely been his chance at a first career victory, as his runs at both Daytona and Atlanta definitely had winning pace, but unfortunately he might just have to wait until the return to Daytona. So his first run at Talladega won't be until the playoffs then on paper. Matthew Patek remains in third, albeit 2 finishes outside the top 10 in the past 2 races. Ever since his win at Atlanta, his pace has fallen off, but returning to a superspeedway could easily turn things around. And then there's Justin Belmonte moving from 5th to 4th in the overall standings. Without his post-race penalties from round 2 at Auto Club, he would be sitting 2 points below second place. Scott Bailey takes Belmonte's old spot and continues to showcase his consistent speed. He is very well overdue for a victory. Does it come tonight? He finished 16th at Daytona, but claimed a top 5 at Atlanta that was damn near close to a podium. CD Mangrum drops 2 spots as his streak of 3 top 5s in a row and 5 top 10s in a row was slashed at Charlotte, which was a pretty chaotic race for him with 64 laps led and a Stage 2 victory, and then a failed late race tire strategy plus multiple incidents. It just really wasn't in his favor. It's just a complete roller coaster for him. And then looking the rest of the way here from there, you got Jared Ireland moving up 2 spots from 9th to 7th there. Ty Higginbottom, defending series champion, 8th. Dylan Baum, 9th. Ryan Gibson rounds out the top 10 in points. And then it goes Wolford, Young, Ford, Hurdle, Peden. Jason Butler holding that final playoff spot right there, as you can see, 17 points above, 17th place behind the cut line, being the number 12 of Mike Marini, who went for a wild ride at Charlotte Motor Speedway on the back straightaway. Mark Cox, 19 points behind Jonathan Ward, 20. Daniel Cudmore 29 points away. He has slowly been climbing his way up the standings, and tonight could very well be that opportunity for him to do a potential win and take advantage of the win and in format. Jose Mercado, 52 points behind. That's not too shabby at this point. I would think he'll probably need a win and in. And then Tom Janikowski, 144 points behind because he hasn't showed up in quite some time. And I think I might be finally hearing a familiar voice. Are we getting you here now, finally, Jordy?
Am I?
You're coming in.
All right.
Wow.
I tried to listen to a little bit.
Well, yeah, I guess we could finally show our faces here because I was just going through the race results and the driver standings and such. But yes, Jordy Caraher is here. The technical difficulties looks as though is finally able to fix them. And yes, we can ignore the Alberta, Canada thing you can see on the graphic there because Jordy, once again, as I said earlier, is back home here on Prince Edward Island for, like a couple weeks or something?
Yeah, so this week's race and next week, of course, we're off 4th of July, so those 2 broadcasts I'll be here on the island, yeah.
Good to hear, and I'll just kind of carry into what I was regularly doing here with the rookie point standings with Kyle Knoll leading the way for a 4th week in a row, although his gap is likely now going to shrink and will only shrink even more with his suspension tonight. Justin Belmonte holds on to 2nd, while Jared Ireland moves up over Dylan Baum, who will no doubt find himself in a giant gap with him also being suspended as well. So yeah, 2 of the 4 rookies are not going to be participating tonight, and it looks as though Ireland and Belmonte are both in the servers, so it looks as though we will still be able to have those other 2 guys. It looks as though only 17 cars are going to be showing up here tonight, considering the suspensions and some other guys not being able to participate, including Ryan Gibson.
And yeah, that's a significant event there in the case of the 23, very much kind of in the thick of the playoff picture right now. But, this would have been a prime opportunity for him, obviously, to grab that first win of season 4. But yeah, obviously, you can't win if you're not here. So that'll give another opportunity.
All right, then we will go trackside here, going to a bit of a quick loop so I can send a message over race control to these drivers, and we will give the command to fire the engines up. So don't go away just yet, folks. I would really love for this pace car to get out of the way.
I mean, it seems to rather aggressively pace itself, or place itself.
I guess there we go. We can take a look at these guys from... Yeah, we'll take the chopper. So, the engines are fired up, so we will quickly get through the starting grid here for tonight's race. Starting on the front row, there's no Corbin McCauley on this front row. It's number 10 of Jason Butler on the pole, with the number 7 of Andy Hurdle to his side there on the outside in second place. And there we go with Corbin McCauley. He'll be starting third place in his number 17 Holland College Chevrolet, swapping over from the Oyster Bed Speedway scheme, with the number 64 of Darcy Ford to his side in fourth place.
And moving along to row 3, rounding out the top 5 will be the number 88 of Scott Bailey, winner at Talladega in, I believe, 2020. And he's got last year's winner in CD Mangrum for company on the outside in 6th. On to row 4 now, defending Earl Ross Cup champion Ty Higginbotham will start 7th in his number 97 Toyota. And he's joined on his outside by the number 21 Chevy of Matthew Paytak, who's very much locked into the playoffs.
Indeed so. And we got the number 13, Jared Ireland in 9th place. And then number 41, Ford of Jose Mercado making his return right there, rounding out the top 10. We go on to the next row here. We got the number 77 Ford of Hunter Young starting 11th. And then you got the number 12 Toyota of Mike Marini in 12th place. And for sure tonight, he'll be hoping not to end up on his roof just like he was last week.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned there were only 17 drivers in the field, so I'll take it the rest of the way here, starting in 13th on the inside of row 7, the number 36 Chevy of Michael Wolford. He'll have series founder Dan Cudmore for company on the outside in his number 2 Ford. On to row 8 now, where we'll find Jonathan Peden starting in 15th. Then we've got Mark Cox in the number 98 Ford starting 16th. And rounding out the field with no qualifying time once again, the number 6 Ford of Justin Belmonte. But of course, he's already in the playoffs as well and has already won on a super speedway. So look out for him.
And the green flag is waving. We are underway at Talladega Superspeedway at the Rampage Coffee Co. 250. And it looked like a very awkward start with everyone there in the field. With a big jump from Corbin McCauley there on the inside.
Yeah, a little bit of a strange start there, but kind of a predictable leader there to begin, at least through the first mile plus.
So Macaulay leading the pack down the back straightaway for this 94 lap race. I believe in chats I was reading earlier, it's going to be 30, 60, and then just pretty much the rest of the way for stages.
Yeah, that's what I believe I read earlier as well.
All right. Okay, so a couple cars already dipping down to pit road. That's Jason Butler and Andy Hurdle.
The front row.
The front row, both cars heading down pit road already.
I wonder if maybe there was something glitch related that maybe caused that strange start that's triggering the front row, but obviously I don't have any insight on that. It might be something worth looking into for obviously a lap one pit stop. That's not something you see every day, especially with no contact.
So Darcy Ford leading the way over Corbin McCauley there through turns 3 and 4 on lap 2. It's pretty much kind of a single file train for about
Regan, are you there?
6 cars there. And hang on, I'm getting a bit of a communication here. I'll step back just for a second. So there's getting a bit of communications there on what happened with the front row. As a matter of fact, Jason Butler's cat did something to his accelerator and caused him to jump, which caused Andy Hurdle to jump. A little bit behind the scenes shenanigans there. Not the best start though.
Indeed not. Yeah, sorry to jump off of there for half a second. Yeah, I don't really have a good cat pun for that, but give me some time.
Well, I mean, if you want to have any puns or jokes, this track did open up in 1969.
I mean, that's too easy.
Fair enough, fair enough. But yes, Darcy Ford leading the field here down through the tri-oval. I want to count here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, pretty much the whole pack up to from the leader. I'd say all the way back, except for maybe about 3 or 4 cars right there. Yeah, 3 cars are all single file, and then you got a bit of a single file pack here in Mark Cox, Jason Butler, the lap car there, and then I believe that's also Daniel Cudmore there in his number 2 Cudmore Design Ford. Seeing here Mark Cox going for a bit of a...
not entirely a surprise to see that.
Yeah, Mark Cox going for a bit of a change on his scheme here. Instead of the Smarties car, he's going for more of a red and white Kit Kat look.
Well, I mean, the last couple of weeks haven't been the best for the 98, so I wonder if he's hoping that someone's going to give him a break tonight.
Indeed, in lap 6 it'll be now. Ford still leading the way in his number 64 Wing Snob Chevrolet. And again, Ford currently 13th in the standings after Charlotte, coming off 3 finishes that are not so great for him, especially having to disconnect at Charlotte, finishing last. 18th, 15th, and 19th between Atlanta, Michigan, and Charlotte, respectively. And again, too, we had a run of 5th and 6th from Homestead and Chicagoland going between the middle of all these past couple races, but then just that run as of recently hasn't been helping there, so he'll be looking to definitely find some resurgence here at Talladega.
Yeah, up and down season to say the very least for the 64 so far. He's hoping this is kind of the bottoming out of this particular valley and making his way up ideally toward peaking right ahead of the playoffs in about, well, if you figure in the bye week, 6 weeks' time.
For sure. And there were a couple little facts that we were missing out on there because of the technical difficulties earlier. I'm going to still talk a little bit about what Talladega is like as this field kind of just goes single file and we try to wrap up the first stage as quickly as possible. Pretty much everyone knows about the allegedly cursed track known as Talladega Superspeedway, track known for its incredible love and hate relationship with the drivers both in real life and on the simulator. A 2.6 mile, 4.2 kilometer an hour oval, or 4.2 kilometer in length oval, with corners banked at an unbelievable 33 degrees and a tri-oval banked at 16.5 degrees. It's the longest oval and the fastest track on the NASCAR schedule and, of course, on our schedule. Built in the 60s, opened in 1969, insert a Geordie joke here. Originally named Alabama International Motor Speedway, it was changed to Talladega in 1989. Was resurfaced in 2006, and ever since its opening, it's hosted 2 Cup Series races a year, with one currently in the playoffs, which is the same pattern we'll be doing here. We got this one going on here in the regular season. We will have Talladega in the playoffs as well. And it's, I would even say it's the widest track on the schedule. I don't know, maybe you could argue Michigan might be a little wider with its corners, but Talladega is the steepest, and it can provide as many as 4 or even sometimes even 5 lanes, but the racing can still be exceptionally tight despite how wide it is, which can lead to, of course, the infamous big one, which we've encountered multiple times this season. And as we all know at Charlotte last week, we saw what happened with the number 12 of Mike Marini, who is currently sitting there in 12th place. And
I mean, the main question here, and I can't really tell from my broadcast, it's maybe the internet isn't coming through the greatest here, but does not look like anyone has replicated the infamous Wonder Bread scheme, because if we're at Talladega, we got to talk Talladega Nights, no?
Well, yeah, I would say so based on the name and the ending, of course.
Obviously.
Yeah. Some of these other notes, let me see here. Now, again, we've experienced Daytona and Atlanta, but not yet Talladega, which is why it must be pointed out that the finishes here, we'll talk about the stage whenever we get to the stage breaks and the finish at the very end. It's not decided in the middle of the tri-oval, unlike Daytona and Atlanta, but instead it's at the end of the tri-oval, pretty much where the pit exit is. So there's just a little bit more distance to go versus Daytona, which will help out a lot of drivers too here, have a little bit more drafting time and a little bit more of a speed advantage to get up there and possibly make, that final last lap pass. And looking at previous Talladega winners in this series, we've got Scott Bailey in 2020, playoff race. Jose Mercado in 2021, again, another playoff race. And then there was last year where CD Mangrum got the job done in the regular season finale. So, Jordy, you got any other thoughts on the track, how it played out in the NASCAR Gate 5 era, and what do you think will be key for this track's transition over to iRacing?
I mean, the fact that all 3 previous winners at Talladega within our series are in the field tonight, that's definitely going to up the competition level, I would think. And, as for the transition to iRacing, you saw what happened at Atlanta. Obviously, a lot of things happened, and, the end result was the winner that we perhaps weren't expecting because, outside of the intermediates, it hasn't really been the Corbin McCauley show. He's been exclusively the intermediate king, but once you get to the super speedway vibes, you get your Justin Belmonte and Matthew Paytak type winners. So, a track like this one, you talked about how open it is, the fact that there's multiple lanes, multiple opportunities. The fact that we're getting close to the end of the regular season as well, guys are going to be pushing more and more while trying to be cautious as well. We should point that out. With everything at stake, I think we could be in for a surprise winner tonight as well.
Well, yeah, that is the thing. That is what we got to point out because some rule changes were made in the rule book after everything that happened in the World 300, of course, and it looks as though we're getting a bit of a getting close to a double file pack here, but very quickly I will say we do have some new rules to go over. We originally had one faster pair in every single race, which helped give drivers an advantage, especially if they got caught up in an incident where they may have not been so fortunate. You know, it wasn't their fault. They got caught up in it unintentionally. But faster pairs are now done for the remainder of the season from tonight at Talladega onward, which, you know, it's just kind of the, you know, that little part of the product, kind of like the real life realism where, you know, if you get caught up in an incident, then, you know, it is what it is. You're done. So we'll see. That's definitely going to end up causing the field to be, you know, a little bit more cautious, especially when it comes to whenever the, you know, stage is rolling through, maybe even at the stage breaks, because, you know, we kind of want to see a little bit more of a pattern where we can see as many cars as possible at the very end that all equally have a shot at winning and being on the lead lap, because, again, at Charlotte, we only had, I think, the top 7 out of, like, how many was it? I
believe like a 19 or 20 car field.
Yeah, out of a 19 car field, we only had the top 7 finish on the lead lap, so we definitely would want to see a change here tonight. I mean, again, it's Talladega of all tracks, but at the same time, though, these rule changes are definitely going to cause drivers maybe to drive a little bit more cautious, a little bit more anxious and such. But other than the faster pairs, there's also, if you accumulate 16 incident points, that equals an automatic black flag penalty. And if you accumulate 4 more than that, then that equals an automatic disqualification by the server. So pretty much the entire goal here is just, you know, we want the drivers to, you know, drive a little bit more cautious. We have some racing where we're not, you know, having cautions breed cautions. And we just want to be able to reduce incident points so that no drivers really have any, like, you know, unfair advantages or whatever like that. So overall, you know, rule changes, it's the way it is. We're just trying to, you know, provide a competitive racing environment while at the same time not really trying to carry on a pattern of, again, you know, chaos and cautions breed cautions, especially in this transition from Heat 5 to iRacing.
Yeah, I mean, that's very much something that, you know, it's a growing process. You know, we've talked, you know, pretty well every single week about what this transition has been like, and part of it is going to be, you know, the feel on the track, essentially. And, you know, we saw a few things that, you know, not only for us, but obviously I would assume for the viewers at home, not necessarily the most enjoyable experience there either. So in the name of trying to kind of enhance the product for everybody, because we're always thinking about these kinds of things, yeah, the rule changes, while, you know, there would be a bit of disagreement, ultimately I think, you know, it's probably the best thing for the series moving forward.
Indeed. So another segment I missed out on here before the race is the who to keep an eye on tonight segment, where Jordy and I both make our own different 3 picks on who we believe you, the fans, have to keep, you know, well, based off the title, who to keep an eye on tonight, who we think, you know, has a really good shot at going to victory lane. And you know what? This time around for tonight, you were kind of mentioning earlier, Jordy, about Corbin McCauley. You know, he is up front on the big tracks, like on the super speedways, but he just hasn't been able to get the job done and go into victory lane. Again, he did get second at Daytona, right behind Justin Belmonte, and then in Atlanta, he was right there on pace for a potential second place finish before being caught up in that final corner incident with Scott Bailey, which sent him to 8th, while Bailey ended up finishing 5th. So I'm actually not going to pick him tonight, Jordy. If you want to go ahead and steal him, you have every right to, but I will make my 3 picks here quickly. I'm going to go with, starting off, one of 2 former Talladega winners in Scott Bailey, who has yet to finally score that overdue first win this season. And as I mentioned before, too, his consistency is the factor that pulls me in, and his performance too at Atlanta was pretty convincing, of course. Maybe it's a case of where, again, he pushed his teammate Matthew. He was able to help Matthew Patek, his teammate, get the job done in pushing him and making him comfortable en route to victory. Maybe they could do a little bit of a switcheroo, you know, kind of pay the favor back. My second pick is going to be, of course, Daytona winner Justin Belmonte. Sorry, folks, I had to go muted there. Again, another bit of a technical difficulty right there. So I'm going to continue what I was just quickly saying there. My second pick is Justin Belmonte, who was the man to beat at Daytona, and his pace at Atlanta was way better than what his result ended up being. With his runner-up finish at Charlotte, of course, last week, it would not surprise me if he'll be dying to get back into top 2 finishes like earlier in the season. And my third and final pick is going to be Andy Hurdle, who has experienced a rough patch in the past 4 races, but for his first time in a next-gen, he is very quick on the bigger tracks. There was more winning pace at Daytona versus Atlanta, of course, but that's a good thing knowing that Talladega is in ways kind of a wider Daytona. It's nowhere near close to Atlanta, where that's pretty much a tight track there, and that's grabbing like that little intermediate and putting into a super speedway layout, so... So yeah, those are my 3 picks, Bailey, Belmonte, Hurdle, and it sounds like Jordy's going through a couple more technical difficulties in the background there, so we'll have to wait on him for a little bit. But cars are making their pit stops here, just past halfway through the first stage. And here comes this pack right here. I might as well keep the pit stop times going here. Here comes this pack being led by CD Mangrum in his number 1 Nordic Aluminum Chevrolet. Also sponsored by A1 Grassroots Lawn Maintenance and Landscaping, Marcor Construction Incorporated, and McBride Transmissions. He's driving for GTR. And I'll bring Jordy back on. Here, of course. Looks as though his difficulties, they did come back there for a little bit, but he seems to be all good now. Jordy, I was very quickly talking about my 3 picks on who to keep an eye on tonight, who I think has a decent shot at victory, while also we have pit stops going on here under green flag, again, just past halfway through this first stage. So, Jordy, have you taken the time to consider 3 drivers of your own that are not mine?
Right, so I caught 2 of your 3. Who was your third?
So my 3 were Bailey, Belmonte, and Hurdle.
Okay, yeah, Hurdle I hadn't heard over what may or may not be an appliance here in my closet studio. So, for my 3, to start off, let's go back to the guy who wanted our last quote-unquote super speedway layout, that being Matthew Paytack. Now, 13th in Daytona, a little bit of a difficult start to the year, but obviously made up for it in Atlanta there a few weeks back, again, picking up his 1 win there and, finding his way into the playoff picture while locking in his spot, really, at that point. And let's see. I mean, from there, since you left it open, again, why, even though, the wins haven't been there, it's hard to argue against our championship leader right now in the form of Corbin McCauley in the 17. Of course, second at Daytona would have been right around there if not for an incident on the final lap at Atlanta, which ultimately dropped him to 8th. And then for my 3rd driver, let's go to a guy who has been, well, I have to see if he's in the field first, so I had to make sure of that. So, yeah, we'll go with a guy in Hunter Young, who finished 6th at Atlanta, 9th at Daytona, so able to run consistently. The super speedway layout kind of lends itself to, maybe a little bit more pack racing, a little bit more opportunity to kind of slingshot forward and get something done. 77 may factor in here somewhere.
So that's Bailey, Belmonte, and Hurdle on my end. On your end, that's going to be Paytack, McCauley, and Hunter Young.
Yeah. Yes.
So very different ranges going on right there. A little bit of diversity in drivers there, but not surprised that you stole McCauley right there. But I just want to see what happens if I decide to professionally go against the guy on the other side of my wall. But looking back here at what's going on here on the field, it looks as though CD Mangrum and Justin Belmonte both had a couple of moments right there, especially on the back straightaway where Mangrum was almost down towards the apron there. And then eventually Belmonte was trying it with all his power, trying to get past Mangrum to go to the lead, and now officially he has moved up a spot. He is currently in that pack there with the number 97 Bojangles Toyota, Ty Higginbottom, and we can still hear your little bird chiming there from your washing machine.
End of cycle, buddy. End of cycle. And we're almost at end of stage.
That is correct also, too. We'll be coming to 6 laps to go in the stage. Again, the stage counts are 30-30, and then to wrap it all up, 34 laps to the end of the Rampage Coffee Co. 250, of course, Rampage Coffee Co. We'd like to thank them for hopping on and sponsoring, being the title sponsor for tonight's race at Talladega. We appreciate their support for the Canadian Motorsports Network and the NASCAR Series here in Season 4 on the iRacing service. And again, the number 6-4 there of Justin Belmonte, sponsored by Sim Speed Shop, Warrior Wraps, and Team Watson Racing Setups, driving for Warrior Racing from Pachigo, New York. Continuing that super speedway pace again back at Daytona. We got the victory, and of course at Atlanta. I have to remember there where was.
I'm not sure he actually
was
at Atlanta. Let me just
10th place. Yeah, 10th place. Yeah, started fourth, finished 10th. And he also claimed third in the first stage, so he did get those 8 bonus points from the stage, of course. So not bad, but I did say earlier, he had better pace than where he ended up finishing. He definitely could have had something better going there. But again, Belmonte's coming off a runner-up finish at Charlotte last week, so he'll definitely be wanting to carry on that momentum and keep going, getting back into that rhythm of top 2 finishes like we saw earlier in the season. Again, first at Daytona and Auto Club over Corbin McCauley, who, speaking of McCauley too, he's all the way back in this second pack right here. Again, you can see this front pack of 4, 5, 6, 7. I believe that's 7 cars. That'll be the top 7 kind of in a pack up there, just getting past the start-finish line for 4 laps to go. And then meanwhile, Hunter Young is leading this pack from about 9th to, by the looks of it, that'd be about 15th, 16th. Yeah, it'd be about 16th there because Andy Hurl's 2 laps down, and he's up there with that front pack. Oh, they're going for that high line there. Corbin McCauley trying to push Darcy forward. 4 going to the middle. McCauley getting a little bit wiggly right there through turns 1 and 2. And going up that track was Hunter Young. McCauley able to squeeze barely in front of Jason Butler.
So much for that single file, eh?
Yeah, so much for that. And then Hunter Young's going to go diving up. McCauley making the dive down low below Ford. So we're seeing some aggressive racing, even though it's only for 8th place. But, I mean, might as well catch as many points as you possibly can. Oh, and now here we go. There goes the double file racing. How are we going to be able to stay focused on these 2 different packs? Oh, I just heard a reaction from McCauley there on the other side. He's getting a little, it's getting wiggly.
So Darcy Ford's got the Wingstop sponsorship, but it's Corbin McCauley getting the elbows or the proverbial wings out in that battle for the lead, or at least it was a moment ago.
Well, now we are getting the battle for the lead. It's between Belmonte and Scott Bailey here. Again, those are 2 of my 3 picks right there in the top 2, and they'll be coming to 2 laps to go in the first stage. And again,
still a long race. Don't separate your shoulder, patting yourself on the back just yet.
Exactly. It's still a long race. And again, no fast repairs, so you'll want to try and race this as cleanly as you possibly can. So we'll just kind of switch back and forth between these 2 packs. Okay, this one has calmed down. Kind of an inside file line there with McCauley on the high side. He'll probably end up falling back there behind stage point territory. And then Darcy Ford just made an aggressive move there.
Yeah, lots of stuff going on. And the other variable, again, the fact that this is the first track that we don't have the fast repair at, this is arguably one of the more devastating tracks where that can happen, because if you lose a draft because of a crash and have to pit, that's more than just the time in pit lane loss. That's the time trying to get to the back of a line, trying to get a little bit more of a draft going. And ultimately, that's just speed you're giving away to the rest of the field.
So coming off of turn 4 was that second pack, but the first pack has taken the white flag in this first of 3 stages, Scott Bailey in the number 88 leading the way. Bailey has multiple stage victories over the season, so he'll look to continue that momentum, but he's not going to be able to block a very, very, very fast run there from the number 6 of Justin Belmonte. And there goes Ty Higginbottom trying to go the inside. He will successfully, the defending series champion, to the low side. Belmonte's going to get help from Mangrum. They're going to be coming to the line through the tri-oval side by side, although Belmonte looks as though he will get the run. But is Mangrum going to make the move? He will! No! Belmonte barely making the block, and Mercado's going to go around behind them. Higginbottom also collected in that one. He'll barely hit the wall, but Belmonte's going to take the stage, and again, this second pack still has to come back to the line. No, the caution's out. They'll race
now,
back
is that for position or because of the incident?
I would say the incident definitely would be the case of that, because if they kept green there to the line, I can only imagine they probably, again, they don't want them to get caught up in that little incident in case Higginbottom and Mercado were still there at the middle of the line where they have to finish, so probably a good decision there. But anyways, by the looks of it, Justin Belmonte was able to hang on that front pack, so we'll have to look back at that finish very quickly here and see what happened.
Yeah, we got some time.
We do definitely have some time to kill off. But again, if we look at this pack here going through the tri-oval, Mangrum giving Belmonte a very good run right there. And then, yeah, Mercado just not clear. He takes Higginbottom with him. Higginbottom barely getting into the wall. Mercado was able to save the car, although the tires definitely a little bit worn up, I can only imagine. But again, yeah, not clear. Very aggressive move coming down. Definitely not clear. And then Higginbottom looked like he probably was going to keep it straight, but then Mercado just kind of deflected back up into him there. And then as the caution came out, that was the result there with these cars.
Yeah, let's just see here. Yeah, it looks fairly uneventful in that second pack.
And then, of course, to the line, Belmonte able to hang on over Mangrum. Again, last year's winner here at Talladega. And if I were to very quickly go off of cars, like the order of the stage, especially with the caution, I would say, Mangrum. So Belmonte, Mangrum, and then Ireland gets third, Bailey fourth, Paytack fifth, Hurdle is 2 laps down, so that means sixth would have to go to, I believe it's going to be Darcy Ford. And then
Makes sense. He's been in that lead pack basically the entire way.
And then it'd be Young, Wolford, and Macaulay. I believe Macaulay ended up finishing 10th, so he was able to get that final stage point position there. Anyways, back to a bit of live here. Actually, we'll get everyone coming down pit road. That's not the greatest pit lane angle ever. That is.
Yeah, nice close up here.
And the pit stop times aren't even they're meant to be live. You can't pull them back, so Jason Butler's going to get back in the lead lap. Hurdle remaining 2 laps down. Looks as though Mangrum, Ireland are going to be the first 2 off there, and then there's Bailey. Hurdle there, still 2 laps down, so it'll be Ford, Paytack, Macaulay, Peden, Young, Marini, Cox, Cudmore, Mercado, and Higginbottom. We'll see here. They are back on the track. Higginbottom just exiting the pit lane now. Butler actually returning to 1 lap, back to 1 lap down. Actually, I'm just noticing here, though, Belmonte actually all the way back here in 12th. I'll get the ticker back on once we have the replays come to an end. We're able to stay live. So I'm guessing maybe Belmonte just had to be in his pit stall a little bit longer there because he didn't get out with everyone else there. Bit of an oddity.
Yeah, I got screwed for the
I
lucky
wonder
dog.
if, well, usually when something like that goes down, wouldn't there be some kind of a penalty tied to that, perhaps? Maybe speeding in the pit lane?
Wouldn't surprise me there, but that would be a rather unfortunate circumstances going from a stage victory to suddenly getting penalized and having to go towards the back. But he is back in 11th, so the pace car lights are off and the field will be going back to green here on lap 34 out of 94. And I just got a word there from Butler, so we'll mute ourselves for a second. All right, so the communication I heard there from Jason Butler was that he got screwed out of the lucky dog position. Ouch.
Unlucky dog.
Yeah, basically, just put the U in the
I
end.
got screwed for the lucky dog. Same as last week.
Yeah, he apparently had the same situation happen there last week as well. Charlotte got screwed for the lucky dog position there, so that's definitely
Gave it to Wolford.
Yeah, they actually gave it to Michael Wolford instead, apparently. So that is definitely going to be an unlucky dog there for Jason Butler. But again, though, we're just entering stage 2. There's still plenty of time for this race to wind down.
Well, typically the saying would suggest that, if someone's not doing their job, they're kind of screwing the pooch. I think Butler's kind of getting it the other way around here.
That would be a way to put it right there, but field's going to come back to green here for stage 2 of 3 in the Rampage Coffee Co. 250 at Talladega Superspeedway. Again, round 9 of 20. We'll be hitting the halfway point of the season next week, in that case, that is going to be at Kansas Speedway for the Holland Hurricanes 200 on June 27th, next Tuesday night. But of course, we're going to focus on that when that time comes. For now, we'll just stick on the topic of the good old Talladega Superspeedway.
I wonder if we can get Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz to be the pace car driver.
That's certainly an idea right there. But yeah, CD Mangrum leading the way here to begin this second stage with Jared Ireland and Scott Bailey right behind. Again, Mangrum, last year's winner at Talladega. Jared Ireland, a guy who has been very fast on the bigger tracks, both at Daytona and Atlanta earlier in the season. Ireland back... Where is he? Yeah, Jared Ireland back at Daytona finished 4th. Atlanta, unfortunately, he qualified 9th, but he only finished 17th. He had to disconnect, unfortunately. But again, he's coming off of 2 finishes in a row of finishing 4th. 2 top 5s in a row right there. So he is getting back into good momentum right there after starting the season with 4th and 6th place finishes. Had a bit of a roller coaster there at Las Vegas, Homestead, and Atlanta. But he's trying to get back into, the same rhythm he had towards the start of the season. And it wouldn't be surprising to see here if he can get his first career victory in the NASCAR Series here tonight.
And you want to talk about rhythm there, Riggs. It's early in stage 2, but we're already seeing more of the double file racing here in kind of this middle frame where it was typically more single file, a little bit more reserved perhaps in stage 1, but you're seeing the track open up a little bit more, and I think that's just going to invite more opportunities, a little bit more excitement, hopefully not too much more craziness as we see a couple of close calls here.
Yeah, Ford dove down to the bottom there after being originally getting the help there from Corbin McCauley on the high side. But he was able to squeeze into that inside line and find a hole between Hunter Young and Mike Marini. There's a really nice close-up right there as the field comes through the tri-oval for lap 37 of 94. But Corbin McCauley leading.
You can see that the field's kind of left like 3 or 4 cars behind here already as well, whether it's kind of cars that were a lap down already or what the situation was, but there's definitely a few that have dropped off of this lead draft.
Indeed, Macaulay will now be getting help from the number 98 here of Mark Cox. Sponsored by Coal Car Care, MC Racing, and Smarties, but technically it's actually Kit Kat tonight. And he's also got I believe that's the Fair Isle Ford on his hood. If we can get another angle here.
It makes sense, as he is in fact a sales consultant there.
Indeed so, Fair Isle Ford Lincoln. He is indeed a Ford employee, so not surprising to see him get that up on his hood, of course. Again, kind of a similar situation to Corbin McCauley, who had the Oyster Bed scheme going there for the past 2 weeks, as he works at Oyster Bed Speedway as the scoreboard operator. So, it's nice to have him and I both, working at our local racetrack. Not too shabby, but McCauley right here, again, you were talking about a little bit more double file action. Your driver's starting to maybe race a little bit more aggressively here. But that number 17 Holland College Chevrolet gets right up to the front after originally being all the way back at like the bottom of the top 10. And Cox is barely going to slide in front of CD Mangrum for second place there as we approach lap 39. Mangrum goes up to the high side. We could arguably call it the middle group, but we'll call it the high side. Ireland trying to decide which lane to stay in. He's going to stick to the inside to get past Mangrum. He's not going to help him out.
But still a healthy lineup, kind of on that mid to high, but you definitely see kind of 3 lines forming there briefly.
Indeed so, as Mangrum falls all the way back, losing the draft there as Darcy Ford went 3 wide in the middle down the back straightaway. His number 64 Wing Snob Chevrolet is now going to start falling back, though, towards 7th, eventually 8th. But it's kind of back to single file now with Macaulay, Cox, and Ireland there in the top 3 on the podium with Scott Bailey and Matthew Patek there, both former Super Speedway winners in 4th and 5th. And then in 6th place here, Darcy Ford battling the number 33 of Jonathan Peden, sponsored by Peden's number 33 GTR Chevrolet is sponsored by Martin Boys Remodeling Incorporated. He's in his 3rd year racing. We have to remember back at Charlotte last week, he had penalties after some issues that occurred back at Michigan the week before. He started from the pit lane at Charlotte, but then he was able to come back around. And he was able to collect a top 5. And I believe he also got some points. I think it was in bonus points in stage 3. So not too bad there for a guy who again had to start from the pit lane and had his stage points in Michigan also taken away in the first stage.
And I think as things progress, Jonathan Peden, he's going to be a guy with a little bit to prove here because, he's finding some decent finishes as of late. Again, you mentioned the top 5 last week. But the last 2 seasons, the big dog or the big gator, so to speak, has made his meals on road courses, which of course we don't have in season 4 as we make the move to iRacing. So I'm sure he'd love to grab a W on a super speedway, especially to maybe show some people that, yeah, I can get the job done just about anywhere.
I would even argue that's a bit of a similar mindset with the number 7 of Andy Hurdle, who again he's made the past 8 races here have been his first runs on the next gen, and although as of recently, if I can pull up his information right here again, 14th in the standings, like he has shown the pace, but he's just had a very, very unlucky run within I'd say about the past 3 races. Of course, again 19th and 18th between Atlanta and Michigan, not great right there. Only started 18th at Charlotte, was able to come home 12th, but just not really that that raw pace, that raw talent that he's really been showing off. Especially again, he finished 5th at Daytona, 12th at Auto Club, not bad, and then he got 5th at Las Vegas, where he had a really fast car there. So early on the season, he did show that pace. Then he's kind of, had a bit of a roller coaster as of recently, but this track right here could easily be perfect for him if he can get back on the lead lap towards the end of the race. He could very well be in the running for the victory and getting his first win of the season. I even wonder if it'd be his first win on iRacing as well, especially in the next gen.
Yeah, I have to wonder if you reference Jason Butler having that issue earlier. I have to wonder if his cat happens to be black, because that gave Andy Hurdle some incredibly bad luck off the start. And yeah, it took him, less than a quarter mile for the kind of unlucky head to kind of rear itself once again for, the supposedly lucky 7, but it's been anything but here tonight.
Indeed. So yeah, that's the number 7 Doralton Ventures Chevrolet, driving for 519 E-Racing, of course, in his 3rd year of racing from Daytona, Ohio. And looking here, the top 4 in a bit of a single file line there. And then you got Paytech and Darcy Ford battling for 5th place. So they're trying to make something happen there on the high side between Ford, the lap car of Andy Hurdle, and then you got the number 12 and Mike Marini, who is probably having a bunch of, breathing a sigh of relief that his car is staying on the ground right now.
I mean, you got to have a base to start from, right? CD Mangrum can tell you a little bit about that too.
Indeed he can. Again, back at Atlanta, was leading, coming to the white flag, and then contact from behind sent his car into the outside wall, right up and over, kind of like pretty much like Ryan Newman style. I know that's probably not the most moral comparison to make it to, but just based on crash, like the crash, the scale of it, physics, that pretty much was the comparison in a way. So, but yeah, that outside line kind of getting the bit of a... They're still trying to make that run go, and they've been slightly making their way forward, as now Ford is battling up to 4th there with Scott Bailey, but the top 3 remaining single file there with Macaulay, Mark Cox, and Jared Ireland remaining there in the top 3. So again, not bad to see. You go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the other thing, of course, about the more packed style of racing, you're going to get a little bit of cycling here as well, especially as we progress here. You'll be thinking a little bit more of conservation, whether it's tires or fuel a little bit later on. And yeah, mostly, the last few laps, the top 3 has pretty well stayed the same, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit more of a shuffling of the deck occurring relatively soon here, perhaps before the end of stage 2.
For sure. And again, going back to the number 98, again, Mark Cox and Daniel Cudmore, both guys who have been getting some very, very solid finishes in the past couple of races. If I can pull them up right here very quickly.
Well, Cox wasn't in last week, and as a result, he's out of the playoff picture. So he needs to be up front here tonight, and he needs to get a good result to get back into that top 16.
Well, that's the thing. That is the thing, though. Again, kind of what I was thinking of there, actually, was whenever he was here, he finished 2nd in Atlanta from 20th. And then at Michigan, he starts 18th, finishes 7th. Meanwhile, there's Daniel Cudmore, who started 15th at Michigan. Started 21st, finished 3rd at Atlanta. Started 15th, finished 8th at Michigan. And then started 17th and finished 8th at Charlotte. So, again, both Cox and Cudmore, even though Cox, of course, both drivers each have, I think Cudmore's missed 2 races and Cox has missed 1. But even though they've missed... I need to do my math here. 4, 5, 6. No, they both have actually missed 2 races. So even though they both have missed a couple races this season, they're still putting up pretty good runs for whenever they're able to show up. Which, again, though, too, with a guy like Mark Cox there, as you said, below the playoff cut line in 18th place, and him in 2nd place right now at Talladega of all tracks at a Superspeedway, and also, too, at Daytona coming up for the regular season finale, both tonight and Daytona could very well be perfect chances for a guy like Cox, and even, I would say, for Daniel Cudmore, too, who right now is sitting back in 15th place in the pack there with guys like Mercado, Butler, and Higginbottom. Those 2 guys could very easily be able to, get the job done either tonight or at Daytona. Again, Cox right up there with everyone. Cudmore, on the other hand, the final car in the lead laps, trying to stay a little bit more conservative in his number 2 Cudmore designed Ford. So a little bit of different approaches But either one of them could very well get the job done at either one of these races that I've talked about.
And you referenced Daytona earlier. MC picked up an 8th place finish at the season opener at Daytona as well. So, there's a bit of proven performance there, whereas Dan Cudmore missed the season opener. So definitely keep an eye on the 98 over the next, again, 5 to 6 weeks, and especially at that final super speedway option before our round of 16 playoff drivers get set.
And again, too, going back to the schedule where I was talking about the next stretch that we have here. After tonight, it's Kansas, North Wilkesboro, Texas, Daytona. That's 2 intermediates, 1 short track, and 1 super speedway. Anything could happen.
So what you're saying is you need to be if you're kind of in that playoff bubble, it wouldn't hurt you to be a bit of a complete racer who can perform on all those different track variations.
Exactly. Now again, too, thinking tracks like Kansas and Texas, I would think a guy like Corbin McCauley would, be right up there to get the job done. But then again, though, there is tonight where, of course, he's been leading pretty much the entirety of this second stage here, led a couple laps in the first stage as well. But again, it's the intermediates where he's shown that great speed. He has shown the speed on super speedways as well. He just hasn't been able to get a win yet. But then there's North Wilkesboro, that 1 short track on the schedule. It's definitely a mystery, and as we see here, we had a bunch of cars here. That backpack we went back to earlier relating to guys like Higginbottom and Cudmore just went down pit road, so maybe they're trying to see if maybe pull off a bit of a strategy here with 10 laps to go in the second stage. We'll see if this pack of cars come down pit road, and indeed McCauley and Cox will, and they both went really fast there in the pit entry, so it would not surprise me if maybe they just potentially screwed themselves over there. We'll have to see how far back they fall after they make these pit stops. But I'm trying to see who else.
Yeah, looks like it might have got a little smoky there up at the line.
Indeed. So Darcy Ford, Michael Wolford, and also that lap car of Andy Hurdle down pit road. And there's a caution on the racetrack. Jason Butler up in smoke. Oh, goodness.
I think that now I'm convinced that cat is in fact black, because that is unfortunate luck there for the 10.
And it would not surprise me if I got some communication from him here very shortly.
I'm an idiot, Regan.
Yeah, I'm getting communication here. I'll just have to quickly see what's up with that, so we'll be muted here just for a couple seconds.
That's all me, just...
All right, so I got some words there. Apparently, that was on him. He was on old tires, and he just lost it. So we'll have to see the evidence of that here as we go back to the instant replay. So he's coming off pit road. And I would assume he probably just went a little bit too fast. Again, I would guess it was old tires, and he went for a fuel only. So he's along the apron. That pack passes by. And then he's just too low down the apron, slides on the grass, and Higginbottom did get in the back of him as he takes a hard lick into the outside wall. So yeah, you were saying about bad luck there.
Yeah, just kind of looks like you might hit that line coming up, and maybe that's what kind of gets... No, it's the grass first. Then that gets him sideways, and again, that is the polar opposite angle of the way you want to be going. Of course, you don't want to be driving into walls unless you're looking for NASCAR Heat 5 cheats. But, yeah, here, that's a no-go, unfortunately, and there, yeah, you just see the loss of control. And I think Higginbotham may have gotten by, basically by, the skin of his teeth almost.
What to see here? Oh, yeah, he did hit him. So that will...
32 minutes of
Yeah.
repairs, Regan. 32 minutes of repairs. I'll be in here for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it was something that was kind of inevitable anyway for, tonight's pole sitter. Because obviously he was headed in that direction already. But obviously that's added tag from the 97, however minute it might be, obviously doesn't help.
Oh, no, it does not help at all. And what doesn't also help either, Butler is going to have over 30 minutes of repair time.
And so, here's our first impact of the elimination of the fast repair.
So Jason, and out of all drivers, again, Butler's a guy who, yes, I believe he does have the most instant points out of all drivers. I understand. I'm going to get to another point here, so don't shoot anything at me just yet.
I'm not going anywhere.
So, actually, no, Butler's second in incident points. It's actually Dylan Baum who has more than him now. But for a lot of the races before tonight, or I would assume it was probably maybe before like Michigan or Charlotte or something, but Butler did have the most incident points for quite some time. But again, though, the most incident points doesn't always necessarily mean it's always on them, because Jason Butler has been caught up in so many incidents this season that are not fully of his wrongdoing. There has been a couple where it has been on him, but there's just been a lot of the time where he just has no luck whatsoever. And the irony here is that, again, too, you were talking about the the black cat stuff, whatever, being the unlucky dog. He indeed does carry on those traits, being the first victim of the no more fast repairs rule, which, it's just full of irony and tragedy.
Yeah, and to pull back the curtain a little bit further, we do have a competition committee within the Canadian E-Motorsports network that does sort of oversee some of these things. Jason Butler, of course, is very much part of that. So he would have been one of the decision makers to eliminate the fast repair, and it's come back to bite him here. Half hour worth of repairs, you're looking at, even if you throw in the caution between stages, you'd be looking at a comeback at earliest 12 to 13 laps remaining. You'd have to think it's effectively the end of the night here for the 10.
Yeah, pretty much so. And again, that's going to reduce us down to 16 cars remaining here, as we're going to finish the second stage with a 5-lap shootout. So don't be surprised here if this field decides to, I won't say jumble up in terms of carnage, like wrecking, but they may jumble up in terms of starting to maybe get a little bit more aggressive with some pack racing, which we have seen a couple times, but it's always, drifted off, and it's usually about the top 3 or 4 or 5 that kind of remain single file. There has been some. We did see a couple of attempts there, especially with Darcy Ford being that front guy there on the high side. But we'll be seeing a couple differences this time around, and I believe we may be seeing it here. We were talking earlier about Corbin McCauley and Mark Cox both having, smoky pit entries. McCauley and Cox are both 12th and 13th now, so I would say those were definitely penalties on those two.
You also have to remember, it was still a green flag when they pitted. Everyone else could have come in under caution. So effectively, obviously the stop isn't quite as long, so track position kind of comes into play there as well. But 5 laps to see if they can make it up.
Whether it was penalties or just all those factors that you were talking about, either way, still that puts them towards the back. But again, though, there's still plenty of time for things to happen as the green flag is out, as we will try and send these cars to the green, white checkered flag after 5 laps here to wrap up this second stage of the Rampage Coffee Co. 250 at Talladega. And again, it's been... Actually, I was going to say something, but I'm going to refrain from saying that so I can maybe let this pack either prove a point or maybe... what would be the term? Not go along with what I was thinking, I would say. But about that, they're getting aggressive. They're getting aggressive.
Let's Just get us to the end of this stage.
Just get us to the end. That's pretty much kind of been the motto, especially after Charlotte. But more in particular, that's been more in particular towards literally the end of the race. But we're starting to see a little bit more Talladega-style racing here as we're getting some three-wide action towards the middle of the pack with while Darcy Ford and Jared Ireland leading the way up there. And they're trying to use the high side with CD Mangrum leading the way. He's making his way back up to the front. Again, the race winner, the winner of Talladega last year, trying to defend that trophy. Yeah, I don't know if you would say defense technically, because again, it'll be 2 Talladega races that were run this year. But either way, still defending a trophy of some kind. So we got a line very, very up high there on that high side along the outside wall, and then you got that line on the inside. Might be a very good thing to keep that middle lane a little bit, separated. And I thought someone got in the wall right there, but again, I was saying there, it might be a very good thing to keep them separated, because again, if you tried, the inside and the middle grooves, you never know what could happen there. They're getting a little bit close there, but look at Jared Ireland there go to the high side, and he's going to get side by side there with Ford, but Mangrum's going to go high. They're going to be 3 wide for the race lead in turns 1 and 2. Ireland's going to drop back, though, and lose that draft speed, so it'll go right back to Mangrum and Ford.
Yeah, no man in the middle there to help Jared Ireland that time around, as Justin Belmonte's made his way up here to second, trying to provide a challenge to last year's race winner, CD Mangrum. Of course, we talked about him defending victory. Of course, he did it under a different name last year, but still the same guy.
So we'll get the spotter cam right here as the field will come to 2 laps to go in this second stage. We saw a lot of jostling back and forth right there, especially going through the middle to the high side, pretty much everywhere. But things have kind of quieted down here a little bit. Probably not the greatest time to be saying that, because again, we're going to be approaching the white flag here for this second and middle stage. But we've gotten single file here about through the top 3 as Belmonte, Ford, and Paytack lead the way and start to kind of get away. There was a bit of a wall tap right there with Jonathan Peden, but he's able to keep his number 33 going. Ireland's going to go to the middle. No, he's going to go back to the high side and keep getting bumped there by McCauley, but that high side is getting a really good run there on the high side. Jordy, do you think they're going to make it back?
It's tough to say. It seems like there's more dominance on that lower line here right now. Not as many cars up high to provide that extra little push. It seems like it's kind of the lower line will be the best way to go, but you never know what kind of speed you can get off of these 33-degree banks here, especially, in that final run up to the line.
Jose Mercado being very aggressive right there, was giving a couple taps there to the right side of Matthew Paytack. He's trying to make his way up there, but he's not going to really get too much help as Corbin McCauley will get behind him, and there's not going to be enough of a run there. So it'll be the top 5 single file coming off of turn 4. So through the tri-oval, it looks as though it's going to be another stage victory. No, they're going to crash the back. McCauley saves it, but Cudmore's going to go back up there. I think he saved it as well. Belmonte is going to take the second and middle stage victory. So that's, again, stages 1 and 2 getting the job done. McCauley about had a spinning car right there through the grass, along with Daniel Cudmore as well, but both cars look to keep it straight. A great save by McCauley. I'll have to go back and see what happened with Cudmore. But that's going to be another stage victory for the number 6, Justin Belmonte, who looks to continue that super speedway run that we saw back at Daytona.
And yeah, the other interesting component, again, you saw that spin. When did the caution come out? Are we saying end of stage or on track?
So we will turn the ticker off and go all the way back to relive that stage 2 finish there. So again, as they're coming through the tri-oval, Belmonte leading the way about top 3 there, single file, and then Mangrum going to the high side. Yeah, not clear, barely goes up into McCauley there, and then Cudmore, yeah, both McCauley and Cudmore were able to keep their cars straight. Oh, Cudmore almost. He had the car saved, but then almost wiggled it back into the inside wall, so good job by him to keep it going. Although McCauley had it a little bit more safer there.
Shades of George Russell in Montreal this past weekend, which I am not at all jealous that Dan Cudmore went to.
Or anyone, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really thought there for a second that we were about to get a big wreck there coming to the line, but no. Macaulay with an incredible save. Also, Daniel Cudmore as well, actually really having to make 2 saves, but as you can see from the fan cam there's Macaulay able to keep the car straight as they make it back to the line. Cudmore just, woo! And then Butler having to witness all that if he's even still there.
Oh, he's witnessing all right. Unfortunately, it's not from on track at this point.
So we'll get the far chase cam here going to see what happened. Yeah, Bailey just went right up into Macaulay's, so that's definitely on his doing. You see here, like, the apron kind of made Cudmore go all the way back down right there. But still able to cross the line. Unfortunately, that'll be no stage points for him. It looked, yeah, that would have been the potentially 6th place, although Macaulay had the run there to get over him, and Bailey did as well, but just not the greatest judgment from Bailey, so that causes Cudmore to lose some stage points there, and Macaulay, though, was able to get points on the other hand with that great save. And now as we can see, the field heading down the pit lane, so that was us reliving the Stage 2 finish right there. That can only foreshadow what we may end up seeing for the 3rd and final stage.
I mean, if we're talking about luck, these things come in threes, do they not? Stage 1 ended that way. Stage 2 ended that way. I'll let you fill in the blank.
Yeah, I would probably say Stage 3 might be the whole field, but hopefully not as well, though. But I mean, hey, we still have everyone except one car still remaining on the track, which that is definitely a more positive outcome, at least so far, versus what we saw at Charlotte last week.
Yeah, hoping not to find out whether or not Big Wreck is more than just a great 90s Canadian band here tonight. Don't want to be seeing any of that.
Indeed so. So again, Paytech looks to be the leader right now, although I wonder if he even... Did he even go down pit road? Okay, no, he did. He just got a really good advantage over the rest of the field. There's Belmonte's 2nd, Hunter Young 3rd, Bailey 4th, Ford.
Update, I just spilled beer on myself.
I was hearing something
And
from...
I mean, we talk about advantages. It's all relative anyway because they're all going to get bunched up regardless.
Alright then, back at it here. So the pace car lights look to be off, so we'll be going back to green on lap 65, which, based on math, it looks to be 29 laps of racing to the finish.
Yeah, fairly even distribution on the stage lengths here tonight. So kind of reminiscent of, a stage 1 plan. You'd have to budget probably for an extra caution or two as things get a lot tighter toward the end. But hopefully we'll get to see it decided on the track rather than behind our old friend, the pace car.
So looking through the field here so far, let's get a bit of a summary of every driver so far here. Here's Matthew Paytech. He's led 3 laps, lowest position in 9th. Belmonte's led 10 laps. He's currently second. Hunter Young, 0 laps led, but in third. Scott Bailey's led 2. Jared Ireland also has led 2. Jonathan Peden at 0. Wolford 0. Mark Cox still at 0. But again, we did see him be in experience, have the runner-up experience there behind Corbin McCauley throughout stage 2. Mangrum there back at the bottom of the top 10. He's led 11 laps. Mercado 0. McCauley at 13. And then there's Marini, Higginbottom, Cudmore, Hurdle, and Butler. I don't even know why I mentioned Butler. But as the pace car rolls off, might as well shout out our other sponsors here besides Rampage Coffee Co. We've got Holland Hurricanes, Kyle's Fried Chicken, Wing Snob, GTR, and of course, TrackCams22.com for providing these custom cameras here on the iRacing service for Season 4 of Canadian Motorsports NASCAR Series action. So we will step out here for a bit and give you a good old TrackCams22.com crank it up to begin the third stage and final stage. So that was the TrackCams22.com Clank It Up. Again, thank you to TrackCams22.com for providing... Come on, mouth. Providing these custom cameras for us here on the iRacing service, of course, in our transition from NASCAR Heat 5, which really helps us to enhance and emphasize our broadcast here, give us more of a professional feel and such. And I probably should actually get off the crank it up camera. There we go. But again, TrackCams22.com, thank you very much. We continue to appreciate your support and, having your permission to use these incredible cameras, of course. We'll continue to do that as per usual for the remainder of the season. And, of course, our other sponsors, too. Again, Holland Hurricanes, Kyle's Fried Chicken, Rampage Coffee Co., our title sponsor for tonight, Snob, and GTR. We thank each and every one of you for supporting us along the way as we continue to race here at Talladega Superspeedway. Scott Bailey leading the way. There's a little bit of jostling behind him between Jared Ireland and Michael Wolford. We've seen a lot of wiggling, especially whenever we had that Stage 2 finish occur. There was a lot of wiggling, especially on that high side there, and we kind of saw it there too with the number 41 of Jose Mercado, who he was definitely being aggressive, but unfortunately he just did not have the help or the run heading into turns 3 and 4 on that final lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a story that I'm kind of keeping an eye on, and I know I've mentioned this on a couple separate occasions now, but you've got the entire trio now in the form of race leader Scott Bailey, the 36 of Michael Wolford, and the 21 of...
Whoa! Paytack in the wall!
I was literally just about to say that those three tend to like to work together, but you can't really do much if you're in the wall.
Matthew Paytack, the right front, hard into the wall. That's going to be a lot of damage. I can only imagine that'll definitely end up... That could make him the second DNF in this race. But we'll have to see when he gets back to the pit lane. I can only imagine there'll be a lot of repair time for him. But would you look at this top two, though? Mike Marini up to the front here in his number 12 Toyota, looking to find redemption after going on a SpaceX mission at Charlotte last week.
And he's got a former Talladega winner in Jose Mercado right behind him. So this could be very, very interesting if this holds up for any length of time.
So even though we are a little bit double file here, we do have to go back and check out what on earth happened to Paytack. As we can see his right front there, just not really rolling with the rest of the car, but we have to see what happened here. Mangrum. Yikes.
Yeah, not exactly a little tap there on the back of the 21.
No, not one bit.
It didn't really look like there was a move happening per se, because it seemed like, for the most part, Paytack and Mangrum were both kind of in line. But yeah, a little bit of the draft. Mangrum gets into the back, and yeah, that sends the 21 spinning, and of course that's a couple weeks of bad luck for Paytack. Of course, he was caught up in the Marini aforementioned SpaceX mission from last week.
Yeah. As we're talking there, though, this front pack, we were seeing there a lot of double file racing between the middle and the low grooves, and for how tight they were, now the pack's starting to kind of separate just a tad. I mean, not surprising after we saw what happened there with Matthew Paytack, and then they're just, all the kinds of jostling. And as we were getting back from the replay there was a lot of side-by-side racing going on as Scott Bailey and Jared Ireland both there on the high side, getting past Marini and Mercado, who now drop back there on the inside of that other kind of pack or whatever there from fifth on back. But it's a four-car train here between Bailey, Ireland, Corbin McCauley, and CD Mangrum. And again, Mangrum, the guy getting into Paytack, and then he had a bit of a loose moment there on the back straightaway. I believe it was on the previous lap or the lap before. But single file there. Meanwhile, behind them, Mark Cox trying to stay in front of Marini there. A little bit of wiggling. Wolford on the high side there with Mercado behind him, but likely those two cars are going to end up dropping back. And we'll get a bit of a single file train going here.
And this is a nice recovery from Corbin McCauley here after that semi-spin to end stage 2. Ultimately dropped him down to 14th to begin stage 3. But again, here he is. Perhaps not surprisingly, again, doesn't have the victory on the Superspeedway yet, but he's been competitive every single time out. So not a surprise to see him holding down 3rd place, and could very well be a threat at the end again.
Indeed, too. We saw the similar situation back in Atlanta, although again, though, 2 cars in front of him, the leader, Scott Bailey, is the guy who collided with him there on the final lap off the final corner at Atlanta. So these two are getting close back to each other once again. So we'll have to see how that turns out this time around. But now it looks as though Mercado being aggressive there behind Wolfer, trying to help him out on the high side. But that's a massive disadvantage versus everyone else on the inside. Meanwhile, there's Ty Higginbottom back. He is on the lead lap again after what happened earlier with Mercado. He did hit the wall, but only kind of, I don't know if I would say barely, but it was wasn't major, but also exactly wasn't fully minor either. But he's back on the lead lap. He's back up front here. Looks as though he is back to regular speed. And then there's Darcy Ford in 13th. Daniel Cudmore just getting through the tri-oval. I would assume he's just trying to keep it conservative and waiting for, late race shenanigans to possibly occur. Andy Hurdle now heading down the back straightaway, 1 lap down. Patek remains on pit road at 4 laps down. If we look at the pit stop times, oh goodness.
Yeah, I mean, that's to be expected at this point, unfortunately. But yeah, just a bit of, again, really poor luck in the case of both drivers here tonight.
Indeed, and it looks as though Wolfer was able to squeeze into that inside line there as Hunter Young. Actually, yeah, that's Hunter Young, not Jose Mercado. I got the wrong driver there earlier, so I apologize for that. But Hunter Young now dropping back there all the way back to 13th, right behind. He's going to squeeze, or not squeeze in, but he'll get in right behind this train right here, which, again, after all that double file racing, doesn't surprise me that they're going to try and get to the end a little bit quicker and a little bit less aggressively, a little bit more cautious with what looks to be now, it's going to be 15 laps to go in this 3rd and final stage of the Rampage Coffee Co. 250 at Talladega Superspeedway, round 9 of 20. About nearing the halfway point of the overall season, but again, very, very close to the regular season finale. Again, 4 races remaining after tonight. We head to Kansas Speedway next weekend, so right back to the intermediate there. And then short track, and then intermediate. And then right back at it again with a super speedway to end it all off. So, again, like was said before, it'll be quite a stretch here. But again, Scott Bailey continuing to lead the way. Looking at his driver info tab, he's led 14 laps here. It looks, I would assume it'll be 15 this time around, as we'll be approaching, I believe it'll be 14 laps to go. So the number 88, looking to keep that consistency up. And again, he was one of my 3 picks pre-race, because again, that consistency, plus he's shown that pace on the super speedways. He is very, very overdue for a win, especially being a former winner at Talladega, although it was a while back. But again, though, all those factors, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that I would have looked at as well had the option been there. Yeah, for basically exactly all the reasons you outlined. It feels like, yeah, he's very much overdue to get back into victory lane here, so to speak. And yeah, that consistency, it feels like it needs to be rewarded at some point, and this may very well be the night. But with every lap ticking down, things are just going to get tighter and tighter. I don't think we've seen the last of things happening.
Oh, no, this is certainly not the last of things, and it looks as though towards this other now a second pack here. Oh, there's going to be contact. Oh, Marini is able to save the car. Someone there tried to go 3 wide in the middle by the looks of it. I think it was Hunter Young, and then, or maybe it was Ford. But something happened there. And there
I
comes
think
Daniel
that's a
Cooper.
record, though, because usually I don't get the words out of my mouth before that happens.
yeah, as they head down the back straightaway, let's see what happened here. We'll take the far chase cam. Yeah, Ford and Young getting together, squeezing up Marini, then goes up, and somehow that wasn't any worse than it on paper definitely could have been.
Yeah, somehow able to save that. Toyota certainly upping its safety standards over the years to keep Marini on the road and pointing straight.
So Hurdle now coming off a pit road. Daniel Cudmore will eventually, yeah, now he is coming off of the pit exit there as well, or he decides to become a ghost for a bit there, but he's continuing to keep going, and this front pack is going to head down pit road. Ireland trying to barely beat Bailey there to the line. Hopefully there were no penalties on that one. And it looks as though pretty much everyone is coming down pit road.
Yeah, I think it was kind of bang there between Bailey and Ireland. And yeah, the fact that that lead pack all came in, not entirely surprising, because if you do pit on your own at Talladega, you were talking about someone becoming a ghost earlier. You effectively do become a ghost if you pit on your own, because again, you lose the benefit of that draft, as we're going to get some shenanigans here coming off of pit lane, I think.
I think Darcy Ford may have had an issue there getting into his pit box. But Bailey's going to come out first. Macaulay's going to jump up to second. Mangrum third. Ireland's going to drop back to fourth. There's Wolford and Cox going along right there. But actually, now that I see this too, Daniel Cudmore, or actually, no, yeah, Andy Hurdle is now going to head to one lap down instead of two. And Daniel Cudmore is now going to be coming around here. He'll remain one lap down. So those two guys, again, decide to pit before everyone else. Although, again, a guy like Hurdle's probably going to end up being caught by this lead lap pack here. So if we do get another caution, then I would assume that Daniel Cudmore would be the lucky dog.
I mean, I'm sure Jason Butler assumed that earlier too, and how'd that work out?
And then that led him to, getting caught up in his own incident, so very tragic on his end. Right there. Oh, hello! He's back.
Okay, well, we did say it would be about half an hour, so 12 to 13 laps left is when we said.
Why not? Maybe
let's just get some practice laps in.
Why not maybe tell the
I
kid...
still have 7 minutes of optional repairs.
Okay, I just heard he has 7 minutes of optional repairs, according to him. But maybe it's a situation where maybe whole field wrecks, he makes it past all of them, he takes a photo, tells his kids that he won.
Or I wonder if there's maybe a driver in the field that he ultimately winds up offering a draft to, and
or that.
Not to suggest that there'd be anything, untoward about any of that, but could be a bit of a spicy finish all on account of that black hat. Meow.
And there's a little bit of spiciness going on behind the scenes in some chats here. I would assume you're probably seeing that too.
I saw one of them.
And that would be in the former Matthew Paytack, but that's the furthest we're going to go. But we're kind of getting a little bit of a similarity to Daytona here with 10 laps to go, as this green flag pit window has led us here to the only a two-car pack for the leaders here. Of course, there is this four-car pack very quickly approaching, but we remember at Daytona it was a four-car pack to the line. Everyone was very separated in very different packs. But it looks as though this time around we might end up getting maybe a six-car battle to the finish unless something happens. And then behind them, okay, actually, no. Hang on. Before you say anything, there's also this other four-car pack. So we could maybe, if everyone's able to catch up to each other in time, and maybe if Ford is able to help out Young instead of being side-by-side with him, we might get about a 10-car battle for the win here eventually. It's just going to have to be a matter of patience. Oh, and Andy Hurdle might even help out these guys. Yeah, what I was
going to say. Indeed so. I'm trying to go back. I can't remember whether it was Vegas, Miami, or Homestead where it was, again, Macaulay and Bailey initially battling. I think it may have been Homestead. in, again, this kind of window.
Yeah.
Final 5 to 10 laps and a little bit of contact between the two. Ultimately, McCauley goes on to the win, which has been the case at 5 of 6 intermediates this year. But, of course, this is super speedway territory. A little more wide open, a little more throttle, a little more emphasis on that draft. Things are going to get real interesting here, especially if those second and third packs catch up.
Indeed, this pack is very quickly trying to approach here against this other pack here through turns 3 and 4. Bailey and McCauley all alone here in those two cars. You can see that distance. It is very much closing in here. Although I would assume it probably won't be a case of anything much until maybe about 3 laps to go, maybe 2 or 3-ish. We'll have to see here. But again, it's like we saw. You got to remember tracks like Homestead and Chicagoland. Bailey and McCauley battling for the win. Bailey looking for his first win of the season. McCauley looking for his 6th. And again, you have to remember, too, these two got together back in Atlanta. And Matthew Patek was right in front of them to get the victory. But now, instead, Patek is the one that's out of this race. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But Mangrum leading the way here. As Ireland goes to the high side, he's not going to bother doing much help at all. He's going to go up high and get behind this pack. Maybe he wants to help do a little bit of bump drafting rather than being in the middle of it. They are catching. It's just a matter of time here.
And time points to a very key factor here. If you're Corbin McCauley there, especially in second, when do you time that move on Scott Bailey? If you do ultimately decide to make that final push for the win, which we would fully expect him to, of course, it's just a matter of when you do it to cut off the ensuing draft that you would then give the 88 if you're in McCauley's cockpit there, and yeah, just kind of cut it off as much as possible there as you try to make that final move. But I tell you, Scott Bailey, he is a heck of a defender on track as well, so don't be surprised if that one goes absolutely tooth and nail right down to the checkered flag.
And you got to remember, too, back at Daytona, when it was only that 4-car pack battling for the win between, I believe it was, I'm trying to remember, it was Belmonte, McCauley, and I believe it was Knoll and Ireland. And Belmonte was right in front of all of them, and they all tried to go for moves, but instead it was Belmonte that got away, and then it was McCauley and Knoll going at it for, I believe it was second place. I can't remember exactly for sure. I know it was those 3 drivers, but you know there was jostling back and forth, which pretty much gave it away for Belmonte. And you can see this pack is very quickly approaching as Wolford is trying his hardest to bump Mangrum right up to those 2 cars, and I would assume they will catch up at least by maybe 2 laps to go. And then there is this other pack led by Jose Mercado, who is catching up as well, but again, it's just a matter of time and patience here to see if the draft will indeed work, or else maybe a mistake in either of these 2 packs will lead to a caution and one last restart. And again, we got a 2-car pack going here. We got Marini all alone, Cudmore's alone. Hurl trying to help out this pack right here. And you can tell they're approaching. It would be great if we got this pack too, but again, especially at what happened to Charlotte, we might want to take it a little bit more easy. Here they come. Look at that speed. CD Mangrum leading the way. Is he going to go to the high side? No, McCauley's going to lead the way. He's going to get turned the outside wall. Caution is out.
And yeah, my premonition about Big Wreck, again, much more than just a 1990s Canadian rock band, and the absolute last thing Corbin McCauley wanted.
And I definitely heard a reaction there, but I won't go any further into that one to avoid conflicts there, of course, but wow. Can you believe that?
Can you see him if there's a hole punched through the wall?
Again, like I said, that's the furthest I'm going to go. But, wow, though. He's in second place there, and then, again, a guy with 5 wins on the year looking for 6. That one guy who's just been dominating all season. And would you look at that? He's out of this race. So that's going to give us potential. That's going to give us a way much more of an opportunity for a new winner here. So we're going to have to take a look at what just happened. Coming through turns 3 and 4, we'll get this angle. You can see them. Mangrum speeding up. McCauley goes to the high side, and then he gets turned. And luckily, he doesn't get in front of that other pack.
Yeah, it kind of felt like as everyone was kind of coming together, it felt like something was going to happen. I even said it earlier. It felt like we weren't done. And yeah, there's the turn. That's a couple that Mangrum's been involved tonight with, unfortunately. And yeah, that one collects our series leader, and that's going to send him to an early retirement.
Hard impact for the number 17 Holland College Chevrolet right there. Luckily, no one else collected in that one, but man, that's 2 incidents right there for CD Mangrum. Not the greatest look for last year's Talladega winner.
Yeah, similar kinds of incidents as well, just kind of coming up into that draft. That's kind of what collected Paytack earlier, and now it's done the same with Corbin McCauley here.
And again, you look at it from Mangrum's perspective right here. He goes up, McCauley went up high to get that run help from Mangrum, but Mangrum a little bit too high, and he just, hooks him almost perfectly. And just a tragic ending for the number 17, who again has had that speed on the super speedways, but he just hasn't been able to get the result.
Yeah, it looked like, I don't even know if it was necessarily an attempt to make it 3 wide there from Mangrum. I think he might have seen an opening on that high line, but yeah, just didn't quite make the move quick enough.
And it's just even more heartbreaking to know, especially for McCauley, too. In every post-race interview that I've had with him after he's gotten the victories, he has absolutely loved how he's been challenged every single race. And he has shown dominant performances, but it doesn't mean he just goes, shooting away from the rest of the field. Like, he actually gets battles going, but just, it's hard to see, especially being the guy on the other side of the wall, being the sibling, so.
Well, I
So we are back here again, under caution with 3 laps to go in the Rampage Coffee Co. 250 at Talladega Superspeedway, round 9 of 20. We're going to get this late restart here as, again, Scott Bailey and Corbin McCauley were the 2 lone leaders right there, going through turns 3 and 4, but they had a 4-car pack closing in fast right behind them. And then McCauley goes up high on Bailey, trying to get the Bit of a bump from behind, a run there, help from CD Mangrum, but it ends up sending Macaulay's number 17 Chevrolet into the outside wall. Mangrum able to keep going, but we're going to get a 2-lap shootout here to solve this race here, and we're going to see if we can get a first-time winner this season. We'll see if Scott Bailey will finally get that overdue victory. Maybe CD Mangrum. Michael Wolford's up there. Ireland Cox as well. Green flag is out. 2 laps to go at Talladega.
And notably, all 3 past Talladega winners, all in the top 7 now, with Mercado just dropping a position. But all 3 past winners are kind of in the pack. Could be potential for something here. One of them is trying to pull away here, though, in the form of Scott Bailey.
Indeed, and now everyone's starting to catch up right here as everyone was separated on the start there, but it's going to get dicey here with Justin Belmonte leading the way on the high side. Wolfer right behind Bailey on the inside. Ireland third. Cox battling there for in between 4th and 5th-ish right there. But the field's going to come off. Turn 4 through the tri-oval. Cox gets a little wiggly there on the inside. White flag is out. Final lap in the Rampage Coffee Co. 250 at Talladega. Bailey having to barely block Wolford right there. Belmonte trying to get the run from behind there with Higginbottom helping him out. They're going to get Jocelyn there. How they're keeping it straight is unbelievable. There goes Belmonte and Bailey both around. Oh, and Higginbottom on the wall. Mangrum getting aggressive. He's going to turn. They're going to crash down through turn 3. Chain reactions going on. It's Hunter Young and Mike Marini to the line here as they will go through turns 3 and 4. Off a turn 4.
We talked about a first-time winner. We're looking at it.
Indeed. Here comes Mark Cox. Mercado. Ireland in 4th there as well. Hunter Young leading into the line. They're going to crash to the tri-oval, and Hunter Young is going to win the Rampage Coffee Co. 250 at Talladega.
Oh, man, that 3rd pick of mine comes through. That is a breakthrough for the 77, finding his way through all that carnage, and he's going to pick up his first victory here in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. What a finish. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be talking about.
For sure, and a lot of underdogs here in this top 10, of course, here. But, man, you had Macaulay go out there, and then you had Belmonte and Bailey getting together. You had Mangrum and Higginbottom as well. But, man, just like what we saw at Atlanta there. Again, we get first-time winners at every super speedway so far. We had Daytona with Justin Belmonte. We had Atlanta with Matthew Patek. And now here at Talladega in Lincoln, Alabama, we get none other than the number 77 of Hunter Young and something going on there with, I believe it was Mercado giving him a little bit of a spin.
I would not be surprised if emotions are running high after that finish. We'll put it that way.
Oh, and then Mangrum there's Mangrum go for a spin. There's 4 as well. I guess they're all probably just giving him some, hopefully just giving him some congratulations bumps maybe. We would hope for that. But man.
Yeah, hard to have the context here.
Yeah, I just have to find out about that later on, you know.
Yeah, you'll know more than me. I kind of watched this whole thing through a PEI potato, so definitely saw how things went at the end.
Hunter Young's going to celebrate here just past the start-finish line. How about that for his number 77? Number 77, Maryville Speedway, Ford from St. Catharines, Ontario. You said with Matthew Patek, a long time coming for him. I would think it'd be the same thing for Hunter Young as well.
Similar degree. Yeah, maybe he was sort of a mid-season replacement in his past entries. I would say this is the first year that he's been there from day one. But again, we've seen the results there on various tracks. Again, top 10s at both Daytona and Atlanta earlier this year. So definitely the pace and the ability to kind of keep his head through these particular situations. And ultimately, everything unfolded in front of him, and he found his way, into victory lane, and ultimately got the job done. I said there was going to be a surprise winner tonight. Hunter Young, I mean, he's been, again, consistent. I would say surprise winner fits the bill here.
And you just relive all the action here. Mangrum still continuing, just remaining aggressive there. And then the field comes around here through turns 3 and 4. Marini and Young.
It's hard to know where to look.
Yeah, basic. Well, I mean, it's Talladega Superspeedway. Of course, it's going to be like that. But then Hunter Young leading them all down through the tri-oval, and then they all get together here. Ford, Mercado, and Cox. Actually, no, they made it across the line, and then they went for the spins.
Oh.
Yeah, you can finally now see all 3 cars going towards the inside wall. Oh, Marini with a hard hit there. Oh, my gosh. That's a second week in a row where Marini gets some air. Jeez.
Yeah, if the fact that we're calling that the softer of the 2 hits, and even then, I don't know, because even though, obviously the amplitude wasn't there this time around, but that was some violent spinning off of that wall.
So by the looks of it, yeah, Higginbottom turned Belmonte right down to Bailey. They both go into the inside wall. And then right here, I'll rewind just a little bit more here. You can see Higginbottom gets into the wall there. Loose off of Mangrum. Mangrum continues to be aggressive. Spins Higginbottom, then Peden decides to assist Higginbottom and him not being alone. And then again, just spins in the grass.
Everything happening.
Yeah. Spins the grass up in the outside wall. Cudmore and Andy Hurdle both getting past there. Hurdle, unfortunately, remaining 2 laps down at that finish. But Daniel Cudmore, using his conservativeness, he was able to come back around. He was able to conquer with a top 10 finish right there. And then, of course, we get all the shenanigans that go on back here. Young and Ireland able to keep it straight. Wolford as well. And then absolute carnage here with several other cars, all with great finishes, but, still ending with damaged cars. So, again, that does it right there. So we'll take a look at the unofficial results here for the Rampage Coffee Co. 250 at Talladega Superspeedway. Hunter Young, of course, getting the victory in the number 77 Ford. First time in his career here in the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. You got Jared Ireland there with a solid second-place finish. Again, one of the rookies with very high-end super speedway pace, of course. Mark Cox coming home with, again, another super speedway podium, just like, again, he got second place back in Atlanta. He gets third here at Talladega, so that'll definitely help him out in the point standings, of course, just falling short of the win-and-in advantage there, but still very solid for him. Mike Marini in the number 12 getting a 4th place finish right there, of course, having that hard hit after the start-finish line, but hey, it was after the line, not before the line. That's what matters there. Jose Mercado makes his return, getting a solid top 5 right there. He was aggressive all race long there, but definitely maybe fulfilled expectations a little bit more than expected there. There's number 64, Darcy Ford, collecting a 6th place finish. The number 33 of Jonathan Peden, 7th. Number 36 of Michael Wolford in 8th place. Daniel Cudmore coming home with another top 10 right there. That'd be 3 races in a row that he's participated in. That'd be top 10s. And even though Scott Bailey was caught up in that incident with Justin Belmonte, he still comes home with a top 10. Not too shabby, but definitely had the pace for a little bit better than that. But still, I guess he'll take it. Jordy, take away the rest of the field for us.
Yeah, so definitely, the way things ended significantly altered what we were kind of expecting for a finishing order. You had CD Mangrum, who was right there at the end, of course, involved in a couple incidents in stage 3 as well. Ultimately gets caught up in another one at the very end, finishes in 11th. Then you have Justin Belmonte, who won the 2 previous stages, coming home in 12th, again, getting caught up in the same in that same final incident, so to speak. Then you have Ty Higginbotham, who was also wrapped up in kind of the final lap shenanigans. Ultimately, he drops down to 13th, and I believe, he's the last of the cars to finish on the lead lap. Andy Hurdle, the last car to finish, period, in 14th, and then you have your 3 retirements. Again, Corbin McCauley right there with 4 or 5 laps to go, finishing 15th. Matthew Paytak taken out in stage 3, and then Jason Butler, again, the string of bad luck continues as he rounds out our field of 17 for tonight.
For sure. That, of course, does it right there for the unofficial results here of tonight's round 9 of 20 on the season. Of course, we will just hang on a second here. Yeah, we'll get back to our faces here one last time here. Jordy, just good old super speedway racing at Talladega, of course. Again, compared to what we saw back at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the World 300, where, early race, it's quiet, it is still competitive, but, things are just rolling through, and then kind of the second half, especially in the final stage, just everything happens. Basically, everything happens, but the question I want to ask you, though, is how would you compare? I know this is super speedway, it's not intermediate. Like, there's obviously differences here between the two tracks, but based on the racing overall, and just obviously, too, with the rule changes and how everything played out, how would you compare this overall between all the changes that we've seen here between Charlotte and Talladega?
Outside of the ending, I think you have to say a step forward all the way through, because Talladega, you sort of expect something like this to happen, and there's sort of a heightened sense of awareness on the track, so to speak. And for the most part, again, the two kind of stage ending incidents aside, fairly clean most of the way through, it has to be said. Again, stage 3 kind of altered things a little bit, so to speak, but again, sort of, it comes with the territory of, the high speed super speedway, longest track on the calendar, more opportunity for things to happen. And, the nature of the track, more cars in it at the end. So, it's, if you take that expectation out of it and sort of weigh it, as evenly as possible, I do think it was a step forward. And again, ultimately it yielded a first-time winner, and I think that makes our final 4 races of the regular season just that much more interesting, knowing that, a guy who was a little bit further down the pecking order, so to speak, he's now got his spot locked up in the form of Hunter Young. So that'll be his first playoff berth as well. So it just adds a little bit more urgency over the next 4 or 5 weeks. And I think if it continues at the overall general standard of tonight, this going to get good.
Indeed, it's going to get good. And you even mentioned that point too. I was going to bring it up myself if you weren't going to. Yes, Hunter Young becomes the 4th driver this season to lock themselves into the playoffs. So it'll be now Corbin McCauley, Justin Belmonte, Matthew Paytak, and Hunter Young all now locked into the playoffs. There's still... Can you do the math for me? How many spots are left?
So 12.
Yeah, 12. It'd be 12. Okay, yeah. So
4
12.
squared.
Yeah, 12. Yeah, of course, yeah. 12 playoff spots still remaining. But I mean, again, though, with 4 races remaining, though, it's pretty much going to be a matter of points down there. Again, there are a little bit of big gaps down there towards the cut line. However, based on tonight, we had a lot of drivers below the cut line get some very solid finishes here tonight versus guys who are above the cut line. We talk about guys, again, like Mark Cox, Daniel Cudmore, Jose Mercado, Mike Marini. And looking at the things here, too, I'm trying to see if there's anything else. I believe it's pretty much just all those guys right there, all below the cut line, versus guys, like maybe Jason Butler and Andy Hurdle, and I would even maybe put Scott Bailey in there as well. There's just a massive difference in between guys below the cut line getting very good finishes and then guys above the cut line. Of course, Hunter Young already above it, but, this win locks him in, so he's just fine heading into the playoffs, of course. So, with that will do it for Jordy Carraher, at least in the booth here tonight, as I will go into a bit of a loop, and we will get a post-race win interview here with none other than the number 77 Ford of Hunter Young. First career victory, of course, in the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. First win this season. So, Jordy, of course, been here since day one, color commentator. Thank you very much for your contributions and your educational insight as per usual. So take her easy and continue the trip back here on Prince Edward Island. We'll see you next week for Kansas Speedway.
Thank you very much. Take her easy.
No problem. So we'll go into this loop. Stay tuned. Don't go away. We still have a driver interview here after their first career victory. So don't go away. Alrighty, folks, we are back at it here again for this post-race interview for the Rampage Coffee Co. 250 at Talladega Superspeedway, round 9 of 20, of course. And we are here with none other than the number 77 Ford of Hunter Young, claiming his first career victory in the Canadian Motorsports Network NASCAR Series, and also his first win of the season. This locks him into the playoffs here at Talladega Superspeedway. Hunter Young again, though, too, only one lap led, and it ended up being that final lap. So Hunter, how does it feel to finally get that first win, man?
I've just lost for words right now. I don't know what to say. Truthfully, I kind of backed into that. Yeah, like I watched all the guys wreck, and I was like, oh, it's last lap. Caution's gonna come out. That's the race. And then it's like caution didn't come out, and then the next guy's wrecked, and I was like, oh, it's me and Mike Marini battling for the win right now in turn 3 and 4. I kind of side drafted him. Mark Cox gave me a huge shove out of 4, and I was just kind of there. I didn't lift, and I was just holding it down, and hopefully I made it to the line first, and that's what happened.
For sure. And I'm seeing here, too, with your overall campaign so far in this transition over to iRacing, it's been kind of a roller coaster of a season for you in terms between qualifying results and also your finishes as well here, too. You got before heading into tonight's 6 top 10s in 8 starts for you. No top 5 just as of yet, but of course you're able to accomplish that first one here tonight. So take us through how it's overall been from your perspective in our transition here from NASCAR Heat 5 to iRacing, and just how your campaign's been going with that transition, again, especially coming in here and now finally getting this momentum here from this first win.
Yeah, like coming from NASCAR Heat 5 to iRacing, like I've ran a little bit before. Once I heard you guys were in iRacing, I was like, I got to get into that. I feel like I can put a whole lot more down on the track than I can on the console. At the 6 top 10s, I made a goal. I had a sheet up beside my wall, was to beat my most top 10s of the last 2 seasons, and just doing this today, man, like the guys that were in the Discord, man, I was losing it. I was so happy. I'm so happy that I had those guys with me. They helped me through everything. Like Jay Cuz, Jose, CD Mangrum, Pete Colligator, Mike Marini, Ty Higginbottom. Like they all helped me out, and it's so great. It's such like having them help me out and actually they help me out with churning and like, hey, lift here, try this. It is so awesome because like on Heat 5, if you're not running the best wheel, you're not gonna make it. But on here, if you have like a Logitech, you have a chance, and it's absolutely a blast. And this league's an absolute blast.
For sure. Great to hear about the emotions and being with all those guys during this special experience of yours, of course. But now knowing that you're locked in the playoffs, and now that we have 4 races remaining in the regular season, definitely a very pivotal point now to have locked your spot up, especially with the playoffs just quickly approaching. Now that you'll have this momentum here from tonight's victory, of course, being your first career victory and your first of the season as well, how are you planning on now trying to take on this momentum and be able to hopefully continue having success and maybe starting to have maybe a little bit more consistency heading towards the playoffs, and just overall take us, like, are you going to try to continue this kind of momentum moving forward? Are you going to try and take conservative? Are you going to start going for more? Like, what's going to be the mindset, especially now with this new momentum coming from this win?
Just with us, like, have the admins making the call of losing the fast repair. I think you got to kind of play it like 2 ways. You can either be aggressive the first 2 stages and maybe not make any friends, but at the same time, like, I struggle with qualifying. Usually my qualifying laps are me trying to figure it out. It's usually how it ends up of me figuring it out. It's tough to say because like every single track, it's so different, especially on iRacing now. I gotta practice more now, and I know that like I gotta keep that. If I'm going to the playoffs, I gotta be there to actually race and not just be a standstill.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, I'll get a little bit more specific into this next stretch here. Again, it's 2 intermediates, 1 short track, the only one in the season. Then we're literally right back at a super speedway, Daytona. So again, though, take us through what your thoughts are going to be. Again, trying to figure out this, like circuit diversity. And again, North Wilkesboro and Daytona, those are the 2 of the next 4 tracks coming up. So with this new momentum here, you'll definitely have to figure some things out. And if you really want to get some consistency going, then indeed, like you say, you'll have to get a lot of practice time in, especially for this 1 short track that we're getting very soon here, and also to the regular season finale at Daytona of all tracks. So it's just, it's kind of like your roller coaster of a campaign, if that's a proper way to put it. We're also getting that similar to with this upcoming stretch before the playoffs.
Yeah, I had kind of North Wilkesboro circled on the schedule. I really enjoy the throwbacks. Just this past week at Merrittville, one of the sponsors I have inducted my mom's uncle / my cousin to the Hall of Fame. We've been racing there for well over 100 years, and just to do that, man, just to do a throwback to their paint scheme. I'm gonna do a throwback to my aunt and uncle for that race. I know I'm gonna have to practice that race for probably from now until the race comes. I gotta practice that race, and Daytona and the intermediate tracks, I know I'm going to probably just mind my business, try to stay out of the trouble and make some friends, and hopefully not step on anybody's toes, as I've been trying not to. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe one final question here. How are you going to celebrate this one?
Well, I've already cracked open 2 Molson Canadians, and they're already gone, so it's going to be a whole lot more Molson Canadians. Definitely showing up late for work tomorrow, and I want to give a big shout out to the St. Catharines Throwing Club, which I've been coaching. A lot of the kids have been watching. I've been coaching a lot of the races, so it's for these guys. Like this is what I really enjoy doing, and I know that a lot of them are here out to support me, and I know I'm out there to support them. So yeah, coach might be a little hungover tomorrow, so just be prepared.
Yeah, great to hear there, being a role model there for all your kids and such there too. But that will officially do it, everyone, for this post-race interview here with tonight's Rampage Coffee Co. 250 winner here at Talladega Superspeedway, round 9 of 20, being number 77 Ford of Hunter Young, the 4th driver to lock themselves into the playoffs. So Hunter, once again, congratulations on your first career victory going. celebrate, I would say, in in a safe way, if that's a proper way to put it. But again, congratulations, man, and there's no doubt that this momentum we'll be seeing proof of this momentum moving forward.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm definitely staying at home tonight. That's for sure. I got the girlfriend coming over, so it's gonna be a great night.
No doubt, no doubt. You enjoy your time there. So yeah, congratulations, buddy. Good luck the rest of the way. Hopefully, we'll maybe have another one of these down the line.
Hopefully, I got Daytona there too. So
exactly. So of course, everyone, that does it right there for another live production of Canadian. For Canadian. Yeah, no problem, man. Congratulations.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, Hunter was giving me some final words right there, of course. But yeah, that does it for another live production here at Canadian Motorsports Network action for the NASCAR Series here, Season 4 on the iRacing service. Next week on Tuesday, June 27th, it'll be the Holland Hurricanes 200 at Kansas Speedway. So again, this upcoming stretch, we got an intermediate, we got a short track in North Wilkesboro, another intermediate at Texas, and then back at the Super Speedway at Daytona International Speedway in mid-July. So once again, thank you very much for watching and listening to this live production of the Canadian Motorsports Network and the NASCAR Series on iRacing. Take care. We hope you enjoyed this one, and have a good one. Cheers. Congratulations to Hunter Young.